Today we're going to talk about 3.3, dividing polynomials and the remainder and factor theorems. The objectives, the objective will be use long division to divide polynomials. We're also going to talk about how to do synthetic division, evaluating a polynomial using the remainder theorem, and use the factor theorem to solve a polynomial equation. So, with long division, you think of it just as you would do with numbers, except in this one you'll have variables and numbers. So you're going to arrange the terms of both the dividend and the divisor in descending powers of any variable. Divide the first term in the dividend by the first term in the divisor. The result is the first term of the quotient. Your quotient is actually your answer. Then you're going to multiply every term in the divisor by the first term in the quotient. Write the resulting product beneath the dividend with like terms lined up. Subtract the product from the dividend. Bring down the next term in the original dividend and write it next to the remainder to form a new dividend. And use this new expression as the dividend and repeat this process until the remainder can no longer be divided. This will occur when the degree of the remainder, the highest exponent on the variable in the remainder, is less than the degree of the divisor. Alright, so let's do a problem. We have 3x cubed plus 20x squared minus 85x minus 50. We want to divide it by 3x minus 10. So my numbers are, my exponents are in descending order, so I don't have to rearrange anything. I don't have any missing terms. So I'm going to divide this by 3x minus 10. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to look at this first term and you're going to ask yourself, how many times does 3x go into 3x cubed? Well, what I like to do is I like to divide it out this way. If I take 3x cubed and divide it by 3x, I get x squared. So that's my first term, x squared. So now I'll take 3x and multiply it with the 3x minus 10. I have 3x cubed minus 10x squared. And then I'm going to subtract it off. I know 3x cubed minus 3x cubed is 0. And then 20x squared minus negative 10x squared is 30x squared. So don't forget, a negative in front of this negative makes this 10x squared a positive. So you just add it with the 20x squared. Then you bring down the 85x. Now you ask yourself, how many times does 3x go into 30x squared? Well, I'll divide it out down here. 30x squared divided by 3x is 10x. Okay, so I'll put plus 10x here. I'll multiply it with the 3x minus 10. 10x times 3x is 30x squared. 10x times negative 10 is negative 100x. I'll go ahead, subtract it off. 30x squared minus 30x squared is 0. Negative 85x minus a negative 100x is a 15x. And you bring down the minus 50. 3x goes into 15x. We're going to divide that out. 15x divided by 3x is 5. So I'll put 5 up here. 3x times 5 is 15x. 5 times a negative 10 is a negative 50. Subtract it off. 15x minus 15x is 0. Negative 50 minus negative 50 is 0. So your answer is x squared plus 10x plus 5. What you can do to check your answer is you can take 3x minus 10 and multiply it by your, I'm sorry, what you what you can do is take 3x minus 10 and multiply it by x squared plus 10x plus 5. When you multiply it out, you should get the original answer here. Alright, let's do another one. We have 4x cubed minus 4x squared plus 2x minus 20. We want to divide it by 2x minus 4. My exponents are already in descending order, so I don't have to rearrange anything, and I don't have any missing values. Okay, So we look at this first term and we ask ourselves, how many times does 2x go into 4x cubed? I'll divide it out down here. 4x cubed divided by 2x is 2x squared. I'll multiply it out. 2x squared times 2x is 4x cubed. Negative 4 times x squared is a negative 4x squared. I'll go ahead and subtract it off. 4x cubed minus 4x cubed is 0. Negative 4x squared minus a negative 4x squared. I'm sorry, this should be 8. I'm sorry. This should be 8. Negative 4x squared minus a negative 8x squared should give you a positive 4x squared. Bring down the 2x. Now you ask yourself, how many times does 2x go into 4x squared? I'll divide it out. I get 2x. Multiply it out with the divisor. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times negative 4 is a negative 8x. Subtract it off. 4x squared minus 4x squared is 0. And then 2x minus a negative 8x is a 10x. Bring down the minus 20. Now you ask yourself, how many times does 2x go into 10x? As you can see, that's 5 times. 5 times 2x is 10x. And 5 times a negative 4 is a negative, oops, how did I mess that up? Should be a negative 20. When you subtract it off, 10x minus 10x is 0. Negative 20 minus negative 20 is a 0. So your answer is 2x squared plus 2x plus 5. The next problem is 7 minus 11x minus 3x squared plus 2x cubed. We want to divide that by x minus 3. So in this one, we need to put this in descending order. So this will be 2x cubed minus 3x squared minus 11x plus 7. Okay, we're going to divide by x minus 3. So you look at the first term, you ask yourself, how many times does x go into 2x cubed? That would be 2x squared. When I multiply it out, I get 2x cubed minus 3x squared. Subtract it off. 2x cubed minus 2x cubed is 0. Negative 3x squared minus a negative 3x squared should give you, did I do this right? Hold on. I think I messed up something. I always keep, this should be 6. I don't know why I keep messing up that particular term. All right. Negative 3x squared minus a negative 6x squared should give you, okay, now I just confused myself. Just a second. Oh, okay, that's right. Should give you a 3x squared. Right, and then you bring down the 11x. All right, so now you ask yourself, how many times does x go into 3x squared? It should be 3x times. So 3x times x is 3x squared. And then 3x times negative 3 is a negative 9x. Subtract it off. You get 3x squared minus 3x squared is 0. And then negative 11x minus a negative 9x should give you a negative 2x. Now you ask yourself, how many times does x go into negative 2x? That would be negative 2 times. Negative 2 times x is a negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6. Go ahead and subtract it off. Negative 2x minus 2x is 0. And then 7 minus 6 is 1. So in this case, you have a remainder. So since you have a remainder, you're going to put it back over your divisor. So let me double check this again and make sure I did this right. 3x squared. Okay, so the answer would be 2x squared plus 3x minus 2 plus 1 all over x minus 3. Alright, so this is a you try problem. When you try it, you should get 4x squared plus 3x plus 11 plus 54 over 2x minus 5. Okay. So now let's talk about synthetic division. In synthetic division, you're going to arrange the polynomial in descending powers with a zero coefficient for any missing terms. You're going to write C for the divisor, x minus c to the right, and write the coefficients of the dividend. Write the leading coefficient of the dividend on the bottom row. Multiply c times the value just written on the bottom row. Write the product in the next column in the second row. Add the values in this new column, writing the sum in the bottom row. You're going to repeat this series of multiplication and addition until all the columns are filled in. Use the numbers in the last row to write the quotient plus the remainder above the divisor. The degree of the first term of the quotient is 1 less than the degree of the first term of the dividend. The final value is in this row is the remainder. Okay, so I know that sounds like it's a lot of words, but when you actually do it, it works out. So this only works if you're dividing by x minus c. If you have a number in front of this x, it will not work. Okay, so we have 4x squared minus 5x minus 21. We want to divide by x minus 3. So this is our x minus c in this case. In this case, c is 3. So you're going to put 3 on the outside. Then you're going to put these coefficients right next to it. 4, negative 5, negative 21. Okay? So now what you're going to do is you're going to bring down this first term, which is a 4. You're going to take 3 times 4. You get 12. You're going to add it with that negative 5. You get 7. So you multiply again. 3 times 7 is positive 21. You're going to add it with the negative 21. You get 0. So there are no other numbers. We've completed the division. So now, since we started with an x squared. So my answer will start with x. Okay, so if you go back to what I said, the degree of the first term of the quotient, your quotient is the answer, is 1 less than the degree of the first term of the dividend. Okay, so the first term of the dividend was x squared. So if we go 1 degree less than that, it will be x. Remember, the degree is the exponent. Alright, so we have 4 and 7 and 0. So my answer will be 4x. That's what we're going to start with, plus 7. We have a remainder of 0, so we don't have to worry about that. So this is my answer, 4x plus 7. Now, if you don't want to do it this way, you can do it with the long division. You'll get the same answer. But once again, if you wanted to do a check, you're going to take 4x plus 7 and multiply it with x minus 3. You should get 4x squared minus 5x minus 21. Alright, let's do another problem. We have x to the fourth minus 3x cubed minus 11x squared plus 5x plus 17. We want to divide by x plus 2. So remember, our divisor has to be x minus c. So in this case, this is x minus a negative 2 because a negative in front of a negative made it a positive 2. So in this case, my c is negative 2. So I'm going to put negative 2 here, and then I'm going to write the coefficients of my dividend. So I have 1, negative 3, negative 11, 5, and 17. There's a 1 here, you just don't see it. So make sure you write that down. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring down the first term, which is a 1, and I'm going to multiply it. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. When I add it with negative 3, I get negative 5. Negative 2 times negative 5 is 10. When I add it with negative 11, I get negative 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. When you add it with 5, you get 7. Negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. When I add it with the 17, I get 3. Okay? So you started with x to the 4th. Now you're going to start with x cubed. All right, so this will be 1x cubed, or you can just say x cubed, minus 5x squared, you just go in descending order, minus x plus 7. If you want to put ones here, that's fine, you don't have to. And then I have a remainder. This is a remainder. So this will be 3 all over what I divided by, 3 over x plus 2. Okay, in this next problem, we have x cubed minus 14x squared plus 100. We're going to divide by x minus 5. So as you can see, my exponents go in descending order, but it looks like I'm missing an x value. So I'm going to use 0 as a coefficient. Okay, so I'm going to put x cubed minus 14x squared plus 0x, since that's the term I'm missing, plus 100. So now I'll go ahead and divide this out. I'm going to put 5 here. That's my C. I have 1, negative 14, 0, and 100. So I'm going to bring down this 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Added with negative 14, I get negative 9. 4 times negative 9 is negative 45. Added with the 0, you get negative 45. 5 times negative 45 is negative 225. You get negative 125. So you started with an x cubed. Now you're going to start with an x squared. So this will be x squared minus 9x minus 45 minus 125 all over x minus 5, because my remainder is a negative 125. Okay. So now you have a U-try problem. I gave you 2 of these. The answer for the first one would be 3x squared minus 7x plus 15 minus 32 all over x plus 2. And then for the second one, it will be 2x squared plus x minus 5. So next we're going to talk about the remainder theorem. If the polynomial f of x is divided by x minus c, then the remainder is f of c. So there's 2 ways you can do this problem. You can do it by synthetic division, and then I'll show you the other way. In this first problem, you have f of x is equal to 3x cubed plus 4x squared minus 5x plus 3. We're going to use the remainder theorem to find f of negative 4. Okay? So basically, you're going to divide by negative 4. Whatever your remainder is the answer. So let's bring down this 3, and we'll go ahead and multiply. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Added with the 4, you get negative 8. Negative 4 times negative 8 is a positive 32. Added with negative 5, you get 27. Negative 4 times 27 is negative 108. You get a negative 105. This is my remainder. So f of negative 4 is equal to negative 105. So you can do it that way, or what you can do is just plug negative 4 back into the function. Whatever you see in x, you just plug in negative 4 and calculate it out. So whichever way you find easier. So here I get 3 times negative 64 plus 4 times 16, 5 times negative 4 plus 3. And when I multiply this out, I get negative 192 plus 64 plus 20 plus 3, which is negative 105. Okay. In this next problem, it's a U-try problem. Your answer should be 112. So next we're going to talk about the factor theorem. We're going to let f of x be a polynomial. If f of c is equal to 0, then x minus c is a factor of f of x. If x minus c is a factor of f of x, then f of c is equal to 0. So we're going to use synthetic division to divide f of x is equal to x cubed plus 4x squared minus 4x minus 16 by x minus 2. We're going to use the results to find all the zeros of f. So remember when we talked about zeros, that means all the x-intercepts. Alright, so let's go ahead and divide this out. We're going to divide by 2, and my coefficients are 1, 4, -4, and -16. Let's go ahead and bring down the 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Added with the 4, you get 6. 2 times 6 is 12. Added with the -4, you get the 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Added with -16, you get a 0. Okay? So this means that x minus 2, and then I'm going to write this out. This will be x squared plus 6x plus 8. When you multiply it out, you'll get f of x. So to figure out the zeros, you're going to set f of x equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to set this equal to 0. Oops. So what's going to happen is I need to factor this a little bit more. So let's look at this first. We already got x minus 2. X squared plus 6x plus 8. You want to find two numbers that when you multiply you get 8. When you add them you get 4. That would be 2 and 4. So what you're going to do is you're going to set each one of these equal to 0 and solve for x. So in this case I get x is 2, x is -2, x is -4. So my zeros are -2 to -4. Those are my x-intercepts. Okay, so this only works when your remainder here is 0. Let's try another one. We got 15x cubed plus 14x squared minus 3x minus 2. We want to solve this given that -1 is a 0 of this function already. Okay, so we know that if we divide this function by -1, I'm going to get a remainder of 0. Okay, so I'm going to use the quotient to figure out the rest of the zeros. Alright, so I have 15, 14, -3, and -2. Bring down the 15, multiply and add. -1 times 15 is -15. Add it with 14, you get -1. -1 times -1 is a +1. Add it with the -3, you get -2. -1 times -2 is 2. Add it with -2, you get a 0. Oh, what happened? I think my thing switched. Hold on. Supposed to go down here. Alright, so I'm left with 15x squared minus x minus 2. I need to factor this to figure out the rest of my zeros. So I'm going to multiply, this is factored by grouping, 15 times -2, I get -30. I need to find two numbers that when I multiply I get -30, and when I add I get -1. That would be -6 and 5. Okay, so this factors into 15x squared minus 6x plus 5x minus 2. And then I'll go ahead and factor by grouping. I'll group the first two, and I'll group the second two. So let's see what we can factor out this first group. It looks like I can factor out a 3x. I'm left with 5x minus 2. In the second group, 5x minus 2, I can factor out a 1. That's the only thing they have in common. I get 5x minus 2. So now 5x minus 2 is common in both. I'll factor it out. I'm left with 3x plus 1. I'm going to set each one of these equal to 0. So here I get x is 2/5. Here I get x is negative 1/3. So my zeros are, and don't forget the one that they told us, the negative one that they told us in the beginning. Negative 1 is a 0. So you bring that down. Negative 1/3 is a 0, and 2/5. Okay, let's try another one. We're going to solve the equation 2x cubed minus 5x plus x plus 2 equal to 0, given that 2 is already a 0 of the function. So let's go ahead and divide it out so we can figure out the quotient and use the quotient to find the remaining zeros. So we get 2, negative 5, 1, and 2. 2 times 2 is 4. You add it with negative 5, you get negative 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. You get negative 1 when you add it with the 1. 2 times negative 1 is a negative 2. When you add it with the 2, you get 0. So I'm left with 2x squared minus x minus 1 is equal to 0. I'm going to go ahead and factor this by grouping. I'm going to multiply 2 and negative 1. You get negative 2. I need to find two numbers that when I multiply I get negative 2, and when I add I get negative 1. That should be negative 2 and 1. So now I'm going to rewrite this using the factors I just found. And I'm going to factor by grouping. Group the first two, group the second two. I can factor out a 2x from the first group. I'm left with an x minus 1. And in the second group, the only thing I can factor out is a 1. That leaves me with 2x plus 1 times x minus 1 equal to 0. You're going to set each one equal to 0 and solve for x. You get x is 1 here. You get x is negative 1/2 here. So my zeros are negative 1/2, 1, and the 2 from before. So this is a you try problem. When you try it out, your zeros should be negative 2, negative 1, and 4. That's the end of this lecture.